Counting down the months, the weeks, the days to August camp, and of course, Nebraska football, as the Huskers will be, along with Northwestern, the first teams on the field out of the Power Five in the Big Ten. And we're talking Nebraska football as we do each and every Tuesday with all of you, 6 Central, 7 Eastern, here with our guy, Greg Peterson, 73 consecutive weeks. Greg, how's it going tonight?
No, it's going pretty good until you said 73 consecutive weeks. That feels a little older than usual all of a sudden, but that's the way it goes, right?
We'll have to start going back and, we're getting to the point where we'll start doing like reunion shows or look backs, flashbacks, and
where
we'll see
are they
what we
now?
looked like 73 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So
how are you doing anyway?
I'm good. I'm good. I keep talking to different people across the country that are complaining about the heat, and here it's just nice and beautiful. So I guess when Connecticut's colder than most places, then that's when it sucks. But when it's a nice, comfy low 80s, when it's 100 everywhere else, I'll take it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we're enjoying the 100+ stuff right now here.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Not here. Yeah. It's a nice, comfy 82, 84, something in that range. Nice and sunny. So we'll take it while we can get it.
Yeah.
All right. Another recruit comes into the fold here in the last 2 days. And again, you guys know the drill. Please leave the comments and questions there in the live chat. We will get to them. And of course, keep in mind that the super chat's available to you to contribute to the show and to the channel, Venmo, PayPal, and Cash App as well. Get some more Nebraska fans on in here. Let them know on social media that we're here every Tuesday, and we're here right now. Riley Van Poppel plays some guard and center, 6'4", 270, 13th rated player at his position. All right, we've been talking about Texas recruiting and not being able to get top players out of Texas. Talked about that in recent weeks, but here's a top 50 player in the state, top 300.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
that was a pretty good get, I would say, obviously. And you got first kind of credit. I mean, Coach Raiola really kind of targeted this guy and really liked him a lot. And then obviously with Brian Applewhite's stature in the state of Texas, I think you're going to see recruiting pick up a little bit, for Nebraska and the state of Texas. But this is a guy that they add in on the offensive line, and he's ranked a 4-star offensive lineman from On3, and like you said, 6'4", about 270. He'll be up to 300 here real quick, but a guy that's a versatile guy that I think is going to help out a lot. And obviously, you always want offensive line is one of those biggest needs of recruiting year in and year out, and you always want to get a bunch of those guys. So I think he fits in real well. He came up on an official visit over the weekend, and it pretty much blew him away. And so Huskers added another recruit to their class, so it's good. I mean, you kind of wait for a dead period to come up here, but no, there's been some pretty good news each and every week here, and then you got another big recruiting weekend coming up here in a couple of days. So, Nebraska staff out there doing some work and adding to that 2023 class right now.
Tons of questions and comments coming in the chat. All the normal and regular customers here, starting with Moonbot and Stephen Costello and Sam. Appreciate you all being here. We will get to those comments and questions, and a number of comments concerning a pretty popular and talented tight end who we pretty much, I don't want to say called it quits on, but thought maybe he would be done for 2022. But good words out there concerning Thomas Fodone.
Yeah,
and the possibility that he can show up for the season.
yeah, all signs point to him, ready to go. And you topple. I mean, he looks fine. I don't think they're going to rush anything though. You would be kind of silly to do that. But I know Thomas pretty well. Covered him for a lot of years already, and he's an ultimate competitor, and it kills him not being able to be out there on the field. And I don't know, maybe he rushed it back a little bit quick last year. It's hard to say, but he was given the green light before he got hurt again. So no, all signs point to him looking good. They're not going to say anything unless he actually comes out publicly. Because if you kind of want to link that to another guy that got hurt last year too, young guy, is Teddy Prohaska, and we've talked to him recently here, and he's 100% go too. So that's great news for the offensive line. When we start fall camp here in a short 2 months.
Cade Mcintyre committed to Oklahoma, top 5 player in the state in the athlete category. So he's an athlete listed. Is that
he's going to play tight end at Oklahoma?
Tight end. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, he's a good kid. Is kind of funny too that Oklahoma recruited his older brother pretty hard too, Koa McIntyre, both out of Fremont, Bergen. But COVID was kind of killed his recruitment a little bit. But yeah, Cade's he's a really good athlete. He's one of the top athletes in the state, obviously. And Nebraska, as far as Nebraska is concerned, I think they might have offered him a little bit late. It might have hurt his feelings a little bit, but that's just my opinion. I'm not going off of anything concrete there. Oklahoma likes these guys, and that's a great opportunity for him. He was out. He was on a visit here last weekend, and just from the way he kind of talked about his visit and stuff, I'm not surprised that he actually committed to Oklahoma. So good for him. Great. And for Nebraska fans thinking about in-state recruiting right now is that, another one got away. You got to think about what kind of position group that he's kind of grouped into, and that Nebraska is really not concerned about at this moment. So, that has part of it has something to do with it as well. So if he's seeing that he can get some playing time in there, and he's obviously he's familiar with other players from around the state and everything. So he actually, knows some guys that are on that Oklahoma roster right now. So not a surprise. And like I was saying, for Husker fans, don't worry about losing an in-state, like a top 10 in-state prospect, because Nebraska's in the best position, I think, in my opinion, right now with in-state recruits that they've been in several years. So, they're poised to pretty much land 9 out of the top 10 in the state. So recruiting is going pretty well for Nebraska right now.
Few people in the chat are asking about, I've had an opportunity to think about this for about a minute. So I'm going to spring this one on you. First string all Big Ten conference. Who would have the most likely opportunity to become a first team all conference? Because that's saying something. That's pretty high caliber stuff if you're able to be selected all conference first team.
Yeah.
I
couldn't really I couldn't really nominate anybody for that right now. It's just
Garrett
hard to
Nelson.
Garrett Nelson maybe has a good shot to be there. We'll see how things unfold, and especially with the help that they've brought in along that defensive front, and all signs kind of point to Nebraska. Really, this will make a lot of people happy if they haven't known that, especially Navy Thomas. I don't think we've heard from Navy in a long time, but it looks like Nebraska is going to be running the 4-3 here this year. So, yeah, big changes going on here. But yeah, you know what? I mean, Garrett Nelson's a guy that I pegged a long time ago when he was a junior in high school, and I saw him play. That the guy has the most incredible motor and love and passion for the game of football. And if you had to ask me who he reminds me of, it would be Dick Butkus. That's just the type of guy that he is. And his motor is always running at 100% all the time. But yeah, I mean, just without knowing anything, that would be a great one there. And then we'll see what unfolds. I mean, there might be some sleepers there. But who knows right now?
Based on Alan's question right there about when fall camp starts, so that's going to be a little bit of a different deal for Nebraska again this year compared to everybody else because, and Greg, you're going to clean up what I'm going to drop down here a little bit better because you're on the field and know exactly how this gets counted out, but it has to do with the number of practices that the NCAA allows during August leading up to the opener. Well, the opener for everybody else is September 3rd, that's Saturday. For Nebraska and Northwestern and a few group of 5 teams, it's the week before on August 27th. And it's usually right around August 1st for the teams that are starting on September 3rd. But for Nebraska and Northwestern, actually, they're going to be, I think, on the practice field right around Big Ten Media Days or July 26th, 27th.
The day after we get home from Big Ten Media Days.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's boom, boom. And luckily, Nebraska's going on day 1 of Big Ten Media Days. So they get out of the way early. And that's, I don't think that the Big Ten ever thinks about that because Nebraska went on day 1 last year too. But well, I guess they were scheduled to go over to Ireland last year too. So maybe there is something to have something to do with that. But yeah, it's as soon as we fly to Indy and do Big Ten Media Days, we come back home and it's straight to fall camp and then off to Ireland. So yeah, it all starts with a bang for us here right at the end of July.
I'm looking at an article posted. Maybe I shouldn't even name it. It's on Fan Nation.
Never heard of it.
And I just did a Google search.
Okay.
Well, I've heard of it just because I'm constantly doing Google searches with just anything I need to look up. And so whichever pops up. But what's funny is this particular writer, and I've looked over it about 10 times, so I'm not wrongly criticizing. They forgot to list Nebraska. They've got every other Big Ten team listed. So it says on day 1 is Indiana, Iowa, Maryland, Michigan, Minnesota, and Northwestern. And on day 2 is Illinois, Michigan State, Ohio State, Penn State, Purdue, Rutgers, and Wisconsin. And I've looked through this like 10 times, and they forgot to list Nebraska. So anyway, Nebraska's on day 1. So,
oops.
You know how you miss something like that, and you're like, it's got to be there. I just missed it. No, I've read this sentence like 8 times just to make sure.
I'm guessing that there's not a actual editor over there at Fan Nation.
Yeah, it's no, I don't want to criticize. I was about to say something.
I know. I'm joking.
Yeah,
so
anybody
from there is watching. It's just kidding around.
I certainly have my typos here, but I definitely don't have an editor, so that's my excuse.
Yeah. Oh well. No harm done.
Jose is asking if there are any 5 stars considering Nebraska.
There's always a few out there that are always going to keep their options open and want to come here and see what things are all about. When you got some high level, coaches that have a pretty good track record of getting you to the next level. yeah, why wouldn't you want to check out Nebraska? But no, in this class right now, there isn't somebody out there really that has Nebraska up on their top 5 list or anything at this moment. But that might change. I mean, we'll see how we're doing, because right now Nebraska, if you think about it, is in the perfect position right now. You've got these big brand new facilities going up, and you're going to be right up there at the top of the nation in facilities. And if you can put a winning season together on the field, those two things right there are going to make things special, I think, when you start seeing this Nebraska 2024 class start to fill up. So that's where I target things right now. But right now, with any high ranked 4-star players right now, they're kind of geared up to, they're thinking they want to go somewhere and play for a national title right away, be on the field right away, which most of them end up doing. But and then do their time and go to the NFL draft. Now with the induction of the NIL now, it definitely changes some guys' thinking. But at this moment, there's not that big fish is not on the hook for Nebraska NIL privileges right now. We'll put it that way.
There are 14 running backs on the roster. William wants to know who's going to redshirt. So here's the rundown.
We don't know that.
Here's the rundown. Well, we got Jacques Yant, Ramir Johnson, Zach Weinmaster, Gabe Irvin is already redshirted. Anthony Grant, Cooper Jewett, Marquise Stepp, Bo Basensic is already redshirted. Trevin Lubin is already redshirted. Isaiah Harris is already redshirted. Matthew Schuster is already redshirted, as has Aiden Young, AJ Allen, Emmett Johnson. There you go.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're only that list. Naming all those guys on there, a lot of those guys are scout team guys at best. But it's hard to say until you get the new guys in here. You really like what you saw from Anthony Grant already. Obviously he's a seasoned guy. He's not redshirting, obviously. Because this is in my opinion, this is probably the most interesting room filled with newcomers and a mix of veterans on the team right now. So, there's a couple of guys. AJ Allen's a guy that I think might be, a guy that could, compete for some time or maybe even be the guy, because right now when you look at that room across the board, you say, oh yeah, we got a lot of good guys, highly ranked guys. But do we have that one great guy or those two great guys? We don't know that yet. So fall camp will go a long way for that. And it's kind of hard to say, you've got a couple of incumbents there in Gabe Irvin and Ramir Johnson. But you can use these guys too. Ramir Johnson's a guy that you might be able to line up in different spots too and throw him the ball because he's a very versatile guy. Anthony Grant's a guy that could be that home run hitter. And then, like I said, AJ Allen might be the best of them all coming in. He's a guy that was committed to Brian Applewhite, and when Coach Applewhite came to Nebraska, he followed him here. So, right now, I love the way this room looks, and I'm going to be keeping a close eye on it because I think it's going to be a lot of fun to see how that progresses. And you got guys like Jacques Yant that has really transformed his body and his conditioning and is really, he's putting everything into it to put his name on that list. So, it's going to be very, very interesting when fall camp comes around and these guys really start dueling out when you get all the other guys here on camp or on campus that weren't here for spring ball.
Mike, appreciate you being here as always. So has there been any kind of announcement as to whether Mark Whipple's going to coach from the sidelines, or is he a guy that does his offensive coordination from the box?
He's a sidelines guy. So, yeah, he likes to be there and be able to talk to his quarterbacks, face to face and stuff. So, he's been doing this for a long time. There might not even been booths when he first started coaching. So, yeah, he likes to be involved right down there in the action. Great guy, too, by the way.
All right. Sam, there he is. Sam joining us from the islands, of course. Greg, because this year's team hasn't played together much, will penalties haunt us again? Well, they sure did last year. Wow.
Oh, not just last year. This has been going on for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously that's always going to be a concern. And, he hits the nail right on the head. Hopefully with the new offensive line coach, these things change. That's where, my fingers are crossed, trying to get past these penalties, because at a certain point, I don't know who you blame. The previous offensive line coach lost his job over this same thing. I don't know. Is Nebraska zeroed out by officials calling, extreme amounts of holding calls? I don't know. But yeah, only time will tell, and we'll see how these guys mesh. But yeah, that's obviously a concern going in, especially when you got guys that were hurt last year that missed a lot of time, and you're kind of plugging and playing guys in all year last year. And yeah, it's great. You always want to have that continuity and have that that core group. And Nebraska seemed to struggle with keeping that group healthy the last couple of years. So yeah, that has a lot to do with it. And like I said, hopefully, from everything I've heard, anyways, that the attitude on the offensive line has changed and everything's positive. But what do I know? I'm just a media member.
Well, I got to say, the Oklahoma game comes to mind, and I still remember sitting there because I thought it was going to be a decent game, but I didn't think it was going to be quite as close as Nebraska made it. And there was a stretch of offensive drives where Oklahoma did not stop Nebraska. Nebraska kept committing penalties. Most of them were false starts by the false start somewhere, but mostly by the offensive line. Just over and over, like drive killers. Like you only get so many drives in a game.
Almost everyone I could point out all season long were drive killers. Bottom line. Sorry,
Todd's here. Appreciate you being here, Todd. Does Nebraska have a chance at Malachi Coleman, the number one player in the state?
Yeah, we talked a lot about Malachi last week. Nebraska, I'd say right now is still in the front seat to get him. They're recruiting him the hardest. He's been here several times. He's a good guy that deals with the media whenever possible, and heck, he's even got a charitable NIL thing going here locally. All of his ties are here. Lincoln East, he's been provided with a great home life from his folks, and he's the best athlete that has ever come from Lincoln East High School. I can guarantee you that, and that includes guys like Alex Stivrins. So yeah, he's, in my opinion, he's Nebraska's guy to lose at this point. And if Nebraska puts a good product out on the field this season, I'd say he's probably about a 95% lock to come to Nebraska. But we'll see. I mean, they got to win. They really got to win.
So, folks, we've got a situation here where we have delivered Nebraska football talk 73 weeks in a row. And I can't do that by myself. There's no doubt about there. I don't have that expertise. I love to talk college football, and I've got a certain level of knowledge for all the teams, but this is the guy that makes it happen. And he's got his Nebraska. No, it would be the St. Louis Cardinals red on today.
Oh, yeah. Actually, a little bit of Albert Pujols.
Albert Pujols. Back with the Cards.
Yep.
But,
going out in style. Going out in style. Him and Yadi Molina going out in style this year.
But this guy right here, the Cardinals fan, he is the one that makes this go 73 consecutive weeks. So we want this to be the most successful Nebraska show that we can possibly make it. So that's going to be up to you guys. So we appreciate you being here. We appreciate the comments and the questions. We appreciate you hitting the like button because YouTube responds to that. The next step is go out there and grab some folks and bring them in tonight. Bring them in next week. Let's grow the channel. Let's build the show, especially as we head toward Big Ten Media Days and August camp, because once we hit about 5 weeks from now, we're going to be full throttle, and it's going to be, we're not looking back.
Yep. No vacations this summer again, for sure. Unfortunately for me, right?
Yeah, it's
living the dream.
It's not looking that way for me either right now. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, we've got too many professional and personal items to take care of this summer. But Ben's asking, do you think Scott Frost has changed his overall philosophy after changing his whole offensive staff?
100%. Yeah, absolutely. He has. We've talked about it here before on the show. This is the first time that he's not run a show. And that was a big thing for him to give up. Seriously. Because if you look at him coming up, at Oregon, he's the offensive coordinator. He called the plays, for Chip Kelly, and then he moved to UCF, and then he was running the show there. Then he come to Nebraska, and he's running the show until he hired Mark Whipple, a guy that actually a renowned guy in the industry, a guy that with a track record, a resume miles long in college football and the NFL, that there was finally a guy. I mean, because if you look at the other two offensive coordinators he's brought in here before Mark Whipple, they were basically yes men for Scott Frost. Their title was offensive coordinator, but Coach Frost was calling the plays and running personnel in and out. And now he finally trusts somebody, which is a mentor to him. A guy that's forgot more football than he'll ever know. And so, yeah, he feels good. He feels good about that now. And so now basically he can be a CEO instead of worrying about, every play, every offensive snap on top of every defensive snap that's going on in practice and the games. So, and you can tell that the load's been lifted a little bit off of his shoulders. But, I mean, obviously the pressure is still there to win games. But I think he's put himself, by his hires that he's made, he's put himself in a very, very good spot to succeed moving forward here.
Got William looking at the division and wanting to know which team has improved the most year over year. So here are my thoughts. I'm looking at the recruiting rankings. Well, the team that's improved the most is Nebraska. That's the team that's improved the most because they brought in the most experienced, proven talent, starting with Casey Thompson and Trey Palmer and others. Let's look at the recruiting rankings. So if you're looking at the composite in the division, Purdue brought in the 37th ranked class. Nebraska's at 41. Wisconsin at 44. I probably missed Iowa. Northwestern and Minnesota are just in the top 50. Iowa must be, yeah, they're at 30. They had the best class. So Iowa had the best class, but they also brought in the least transfers. They lost the least transfers. They brought in the least transfers. They brought in one. So from a transfer portal situation, Nebraska is the most improved. Purdue picked up Iowa, 2 offensive players from Iowa, 2 wide receivers, Tyrone Tracy and Charlie Jones. Minnesota lost one of its best running backs, and Marquise Irving went to Oregon. I think Nebraska is the most improved team in the division.
Well, I didn't. You're on a nice roll there. I didn't want to cut you off, but I think his question means actually who's improved each year the most as a team.
Oh, in the past?
Yeah, it says most year over year.
I was thinking who
doesn't even say recruiting on there.
Well, yeah, that would be. I thought he was asking which team's going to be the most improved this year over last year.
No, which team in our division improved the most year over year?
Yeah.
I would say Nebraska is on the bottom of that list.
Well, yeah.
Questions.
I don't look at that question like that.
Okay, well.
If you're going to look at it as who's improved the most in the past, all you have to do is look at their records.
Yeah, I mean, I think Minnesota is the one who's improved, from where they were to where they are now as a team, as a program. Yeah.
Minnesota's improved the most. Northwestern's been on the biggest roller coaster. And Nebraska's gone backwards the most. But if we're looking forward, I think Nebraska's has improved its roster the most in 1 year.
I think they've poised themselves to do good things finally, for a change, obviously. So we just got to see what it all looks like when they actually, fly over to Dublin and take on the Wildcats.
Stephen Young, after Scott Frost, would prefer a DC as head coach. I don't know where we're headed with that one.
I get that. I mean, my favorite coach of all time is Mike Ditka. And he ended up being a defensive guy, but he played tight end when he was a player. But
yeah.
I think if you're, especially in college football, if you got yourself a good DC like Scott Frost has, I think it's better off. I mean, let a defensive guy run the defense. Bo Pelini was considered one of the best defensive coordinators out there. Not so much as a head coach as it's turned out. So I don't know. I mean, there's different sides of that argument. But I think it's just the best head coach is a guy that knows how to surround himself with the best guys out there, the smartest guys. And I think Eric Shenander is one of the best defensive coordinators that you'll find in college football. And he'll be a head coach one of these days. I mean, he turns down a lot of offers as it is, but he makes a lot of money too as a defensive coordinator, and he's a loyal guy. And I think that's the biggest key. I mean, especially if you're an offensive guy, you're known as an offensive guy. Yeah, get the best defensive coordinator you could. Like I said, Mike Ditka, he got Buddy Ryan. You see how that worked out. So yeah, that's the best way to go if you're asking me. And now vice versa. If you're a defensive guy like a Bo Pelini, man, you should go out there and find one of those top guys out there, to be your offensive coordinator. And I'm not trying to bash anybody that had been here in the past, like Tim Beck and stuff. Those guys were all good in their own ways, but yeah, you just got to find the right chemistry. Bottom line, and to be a head coach, you got to be a CEO these days.
Folks, check out the ticker down below. Join our Discord. You can talk Huskers all the time. You can talk college football all the time. Basically, what you see right here in the live chat, you can do that 24/7, 365 on Discord. So please check us out there on Discord. Go to patreon.com. Sign up there. I get you the link, and you can talk college football all the time, all the time, all the time. Caleb, thanks for being here. Who will be the biggest surprise impact player on the team this year?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, there's a lot of guys to choose from. God, I would love to be able to answer that question right now. The easy way. I mean, well, impact is what I'm thinking of. I mean, the easy answer to that would be Trey Palmer.
That's what I was going to say. But is that going to be a surprise to anybody?
Surprise? No, that would not be a surprise. So, oh boy, I've got it. You know what? I'm going to go somewhere like an unsung type guy that you know, a non-skill position guy that you know might just make a huge impact. And I'm just going to throw that out there and say second-year player, offensive guard Henry Lutowski. How about that?
Look at that.
Because that would be a surprise and an impact. A lot of other guys are already hyped up, so they wouldn't be a surprise. But I'm thinking I like Henry Lutowski's chances to make a big impact and become a starter on that offensive line sooner than later. So
Greg, you mentioned
dropping my little bit of that's my
nice.
little bit of knowledge here.
deep roster knowledge. Greg, we talked about this off air last week. You mentioned Bo Pelini a couple minutes ago. What was the podcast that he was on here about a week ago where he was commenting on the Big 12 championship game against Texas with the Colt McCoy throw out of bounds to set up the game-winning field goal that most likely wasn't made in time. We'll put it that way.
Right. Yeah. No, that's Will Compton's podcast, the former Nebraska linebacker and Washington Commanders, are they now? But the Washington football team, when they were still named something else, he had a pretty good career there. And he's thriving with his podcast show. He's got a huge following, obviously. Any former Husker player is going to have a huge following. But yeah, I think this is the only podcast that Bo Pelini will go on. So, you know, he's very loyal to his former players and stuff. And he's pretty candid when he's on that show. He's been on it, I don't know, 2 or 3 times now.
So Bo Pelini called the officiating a screw job. That's in quotes. Screw job. Suggested that the Big 12 rigged the finish so Texas could make it to the national championship game. So understand that anytime there's a team that's gunning for a national championship appearance in a conference title game and the other team does not have that opportunity, not that conferences are going around rigging games to get a team in the national championship game, but who are you rooting for in the conference office? Of course, you're rooting for the team that can go play in the BCS championship game. So he said they effing lied. That was a screw job. They wanted Texas to go to the national championship game. Let's face it. They wanted to make sure that a team from the Big 12 went. We won the game. The game was over.
You know what? I can't argue against his opinion either. Now, did the Big 12 actually make a call down there? Who knows? The next question is, will they do that to Texas and Oklahoma right now? Because they're still stuck in the Big 12 for a couple more seasons. So do they start doing pull the same stuff
against them?
Right.
Yeah.
So, you know, because there's a little bit of egos going on there when a team is on their way out of the conference. So I don't think Bo Pelini's wrong, really, to say that. And he's nothing but a blunt person. I mean, he tells you like it is, okay? And that's what he believes. And I think most Husker fans are right there 100% backing him on that, because he's right. That game was over. There's no way that there should have been a second put back on that clock and let Texas kick a field goal to win the game. That's ridiculous. So, yeah, let's see. I mean, the Big 12, obviously we've seen them several times. They get butthurt, when somebody decides to up and leave for greener pastures. So, yeah, it wouldn't shock me at all if they started pulling the same stuff with both Texas and Oklahoma. I mean, how would you like to be there as Oklahoma's representative at those conference meetings? And you want to bring something up, and are they actually going to listen to you, or are they all going to sit there and look at your phones while you talk? And so yeah, it's it's going to be interesting to see.
Well, I made the comment this week that, let's see, that must have been when we jumped on live when the announcement was made that 2023 is going to be the entry into the Big 12 from BYU, Cincinnati, UCF, and Houston. That I would, if you're the commissioner of the Big 12 and you're working for the Big 12, what is your role? What is the description of your job? To do whatever you need to do for the best interests of the Big 12. Well, Oklahoma and Texas are no longer members of the Big 12, at least long-term members. So I would screw them in any reasonable way I could in terms of scheduling.
Exactly. I'm sure they will. You'll see it, I'm sure. And I mean, because they're going to restrict those guys any way they can. They're leaving. Yeah, I get it. I mean, we've seen the Big 12 operate like this already, and it doesn't. To them, you're not a member of the conference anymore, and your opinion doesn't mean anything anymore. We're only keeping you around here to punish you and cost you money, basically, is all they're trying to do. Because they know they can't compete with the SEC or the Big Ten when it comes to payouts for each of your members. So, yeah, TV contracts rule the whole world right now of college football, and unfortunately, the Big 12 and the Pac-12 are kind of irrelevant in that conversation. They have their deals, but not the mega deals like the SEC and the Big Ten have. And even the ACC, is all hooked up with ESPN. So, they're doing pretty well too.
One more note on the last play of that Big 12 championship game, and this is worth noting, is that officially the rule is that the clock should not stop until the football hits something out of bounds. Because if you think about it, obviously, if somebody throws the ball out of bounds, everybody knows it's impossible to catch, but you have to make a rule that basically it's catchable until it doesn't get caught, which means it's got to hit something, the ground, a chair or something. Yeah. And that thing was heaved well over everybody's head. And it took a while for that thing to hit something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, obviously there's somebody had a itchy trigger finger on that clock button. That clock operator. Somebody was in his ear or something. I don't know. No, I mean, yeah, Bo's right. That the whole thing was handled just completely wrong, and it looked so blatantly, illegal. Trying to punish Nebraska. That, yeah, I mean. What else do you say? Yeah, Nebraska did get screwed, in my opinion.
Never mind me. I appreciate you keeping track of the folks in the chat there. We're at 119, but that is not anywhere close to a record. We've had over 200 people on here when we had certain topics like the Scott Frost contract situation and so forth. So we would like to get back to those numbers here pretty soon. couple of people are asking about Frank Solich, who had to step down due to health reasons at Ohio University. Greg, what are your thoughts on Frank Solich and his tenure at Nebraska?
I will always respect Coach Solich and appreciate everything that he did. You know, his roots are all here, and I know this question comes up because he was nominated for the Hall of Fame.
Okay.
Yeah, so you know, congratulations to him. But you know, he started out here in Lincoln. He used to coach Lincoln Southeast High School. You know, went to the university and worked his way up through the ranks and was the running backs coach under Coach Osborne. He was actually my position coach when I would go to Nebraska football camp. So I actually, you know, I know him both as a media member and an actual player. So that's kind of special in my opinion. And you know, when he took over the reins here, you know, obviously Coach Osborne's the guy that endorsed him to take over, and the stipulation was that basically he had to keep the staff intact. So who knows if he would have had a chance to hire his own staff right out of the gate, things might have ended up different. I don't know, but he did a lot of great things here, and in my mind, kind of got a raw deal there. You know, you still win 9 games. Obviously, you had some bad losses there, but you still won 9 games, and then you get fired. And basically, the guy was never really welcomed back in the state of Nebraska the whole time that he coached at Ohio U. Until finally, what was it, 2 summers ago, he was recognized. He won another award, and this was the first time that he'd come back to the state of Nebraska to receive that reward. There was the Outland Trophy. It was the same time as the Outland Trophy presentation and stuff that he was getting honored as well. So it was kind of cool to catch up with him and stuff there. And he finally made peace with you know, the university and you know, the brass that actually fired him in the first place is no longer around here anymore anyway. But he finally felt welcome back in the state finally, and now he's being recognized as one of the best in his profession of all time. So yeah, I'll always have a special place in my heart for Frank Solich, and what a wonderful career he ended up having. Who knows? Maybe he could have done even better things here at Nebraska, and things would have been different. You know, maybe we're only talking about Scott Frost as like the third coach since Bob Devaney here. But no, we went through a lot of other head coaches since Coach Solich went to Ohio.
Yes, it was Greg mentioned, of course, Frank Solich took over directly for Tom Osborne, so that's no easy task.
No.
You know, one of the 5 or so greatest coaches in history. But yeah, he had a good run at Nebraska. Certainly, Husker fans would take this now.
Well, you're talking about, I mean, you know, a play short of winning a national title as a head coach, too. So, I mean, you know, he was right up there for a while. Things just didn't work out, unfortunately. But we move on.
9-4, finished in the top 20. 12-1, number 2 in the country. Fiesta Bowl win. So that was the team that beat Tennessee in the Fiesta Bowl. And you're saying one play away from the winning the national championship. Who'd they lose to?
Ah, God.
I got it right here.
Back.
Lost to Texas 24-20.
Yeah, there you go.
Lost to Texas 24-20, beat Tennessee in the Fiesta Bowl, finished number 2 in the country.
Yeah.
Then the next year they go 10-2, finish number 7 in the country, win the Alamo Bowl. Then they go 11-2, finish number 7 in the country, lost the Rose Bowl. Well, of course, that was the
Miami
ECS championship game.
Jeez. Yeah.
7-7, lost the Independence Bowl. I believe that was to Ole Miss.
Yeah.
And then 9-3 went to the Alamo Bowl. finished in the top 20. So the season he got fired, 9-3, lost to the played in the Alamo Bowl. He didn't coach the game, finished in the top 20. So 58-19. That would look pretty good right now.
That would look really good right now.
And as it stands right now, he's the last Nebraska coach to win a conference championship.
Hey, there you go. There you go. What a great staff that was, too, though. Those guys were together forever and won a lot of football games together. So,
reminds me that I'm working on a series right now. Is this the year? Fill in the blank. Is this the year? And for Nebraska, is this the year? I'm going to go with two different directions. Is this the year they get back to a bowl game? Be the first one since 2016, or is this the year that Nebraska wins a conference championship? Be the first one since 1999.
Bowl game.
Yeah, you would think so, but still.
Think about that for a second. Bowl game.
When you think about yeah, it's going to be a little bit easier to do that, just a little bit. When you think about these kind of programs, Greg, Texas A&M has not won a conference championship since 1998.
It's hard.
Been that long for Texas A&M. It's been since 99 for Nebraska. It's been since 03 for Miami. It's been since 09 for Texas. That's been 13 years.
Mm-hmm. Well, Nebraska's due, right?
You can always look at it that way.
But boy, it's hard to do. I mean, my goodness. Especially when one team pretty much has a stranglehold over that conference championship banner. I mean, somebody else gets in there every now and then, but yeah, until you can go head to head with the Ohio States of the world, that's pretty hard to win a conference championship.
We got our guy Paul Kersey asking about Minnesota. They're an interesting team, interesting program. They're under PJ Fleck. I've got a lot of respect for him. I think he's doing a nice job.
Yeah, we've seen them improve year in and year out under his tenure there, and I don't see any reason why they would stop now. I think they've got a lot of momentum as a program right now. Even though last year they were down a little bit, considering the year the year they had. So, but PJ Fleck's a pretty interesting dude, and he's a pretty good motivator as a head coach, and he's a good recruiter. So, Minnesota, hit it out of the park when they hired PJ Fleck, in my opinion.
Yeah, PJ Fleck's story is pretty interesting. Just that he it's not like he didn't play the game and played at a high level, good enough to make a San Francisco 49ers roster as a wide receiver, but he hurt his knee, and it wasn't like he was some star player, but still he made it in an NFL roster, hurt his knee, and then he tells a funny story about he met his future wife when he was the head coach at Western Michigan. In his first year, they were 1-11, and he was like, "Who in the world's going to date me? I'm a coach at Western Michigan, 1-11." But within like 3 years, just the thought of Western Michigan being 13-0 and playing in the Cotton Bowl, like who else is going to do? Like we haven't seen that. That's just a MAC school playing in the Cotton Bowl against Wisconsin on New Year's Day. That's just. And then he goes to Minnesota and does a nice job so far.
You have seen his wife, right?
Well, I would assume that she's okay. I would think PJ would do pretty well for himself.
Yeah, she's pretty easy on the eyes.
Okay, but PJ was able to reel that in at Western Michigan at 1-11, so he wasn't even big time then. Stephen Young. Now, Stephen goes back further even than you, Greg. He remembers being in a doctor's office in 1962 and watching the Husker band march by for their bowl game.
I wasn't even born for another 6 years. So can't remember that. But that's cool, though. That's very, very cool.
That's funny.
Yeah.
1962. Oh, we've got a treat for everyone, Nebraska fans. I'm going to be reviewing I've got my notes right in front of me. Let me see. Yes, reviewing all Nebraska's claimed national championships and whether they're legit. And then I've got a slew of years here where I think maybe Nebraska has a chance to claim other national championships where they've got an argument. So that video is coming out.
Oh, God.
I'm big into that kind of stuff, as you can tell.
Yeah. Wow. Hey, I like it. I'm glad somebody does that. I don't have time.
I could do stuff like that. I got to create content.
Yeah, no doubt. West Virginia, huh?
Yeah, Joey's a good guy. And he's a West Virginia guy through and through.
Yeah. Beautiful country out there, I'll say that.
Yeah. Absolutely. It was quite the box score from the Texas game in '99. 312 lost fumbles.
That's a bad day. all by the quarterback. I don't think Adrian Martinez ever played against Texas, did he? Ooh. Let's say that out loud.
You did. That's going to be a little sideline that Nebraska fans can keep track of this year.
The rest of the night, I'm turning my phone off.
Oh, I think you're safe. I think you're safe with the faithful here. Never mind. Oh, I didn't read the rest of this comment before I posted it to the screen. No, I have not done any videos on why I left ESPN.
That's personal. Never mind.
There might be about 8 people out there that are interested, but I will say, what did somebody else bring up? Somebody wanted to know what our favorite cut of steak is.
We've answered that one before.
We did?
I think so. I don't know that. Why is that a question on every show?
Somebody just asked that.
Well, I'm a filet mignon guy myself. I don't like those.
Ooh, yeah.
I don't like stuff in my gut full of red meat to that extent. So I like me a nice little filet mignon.
Okay. I'm gonna say that ribeye to me is the most flavorful steak. I love ribeye. When I was growing up, when I was a kid, I just thought prime rib was just amazing. But yeah, I hadn't thought about filet mignon. I haven't had that in a long time. That ranks pretty high as well. But I'm going to go ribeye, filet mignon, prime rib, porterhouse 4.
So I'm not gonna complain about that one bit because I'm just a guy that I don't like to waste food. So I'm not going to order a steak that I know I can't finish. So I know I can finish a filet mignon. So that's pretty much why I go with that most of the time.
My kids took me out for steak about 2 weeks ago for my birthday. And you know what I did was, I wasn't paying the bill. So I ordered the biggest steak on the menu. And for once in my life, I didn't just make myself eat it all. I thought, you know what? I'm content. I'm full. I've only eaten half of it. It was like a 20-ounce steak. I only ate half of it, and I thought, you know what? Take it in a doggy bag. It'll be great tomorrow. That's what I did. I had steak for lunch the next day.
Cut it up and make a sandwich.
Yeah.
Heck, I mean, you know what? Living here, you're pretty much in the beef capital of the country anyway, so it's not hard to go find a good steak around Lincoln, Nebraska, or Omaha. We'll just put it that way. So I'm not as big of a steak guy as I used to be when I was younger. Just it's a lot of work for me to eat a steak, that big old ribeye these days. So I just I'm trying to watch my girlish figure as well.
Yeah. Seems like every time I turn on the TV or YouTube, I'm being reminded about how bad sugar is for me and all of that. And I keep saying, I'm going to go on a campaign and I'm just going to wipe all that out and feel great. So
hey, when you do that, it feels amazing. I'll tell you, when you do that. I've been there. I'm not there now again, but I did that for a while, and it was amazing.
All right, folks, quite the show. We started with football, and we ended with your favorite cut of steak.
And fitness.
And a little fitness. Very little fitness.
Yeah, very little. Yeah. But we'll have plenty to talk about next week. We didn't even touch on another big recruiting weekend this weekend. So lots more visitors here on campus. They're holding, Friday Night Lights is again on Friday here. And then Saturday is the pipeline camp. So we're going to have a lot to talk about next week.
Well, is there anybody that stands out to you that's coming in?
I would say the most interesting is William Watson, Pop Watson, the quarterback commit that, is Mark Whipple's guy, the handpicked guy. He's going to be here, I believe, his first time ever. So that's kind of what I'm interested in hearing how things went with him. And obviously he's going to be leading the charge in recruiting all the other prospects that are here taking their visits here this weekend. So some pretty good, highly ranked 4-star guys coming in this weekend. So, we'll have a complete breakdown of all that next week.
Pop Watson committed back in February out of Springfield, Massachusetts, 27th rated quarterback in the country, top 10 player in the state of Massachusetts, number 545 overall, according to the composite. Okay. All right. There you see it on the banner, everyone. Tell your friends, Nebraska Live every Tuesday at 6 Central. And we appreciate you being here. Greg, you make it all happen. Thanks, as always.
Always love it. Always a pleasure.